He said it didn't mean anything. But that night, when his hand found mine beneath the blanket, he held it like he'd been waiting his whole life. My heart knew the truth before he ever said it. He loved me. He just couldn't say it out loud. Not with my brother sleeping 6 feet away. This is the story of the boy I was never meant to fall for at my brother's best friend. Never planned to fall for James Rhee. He was the kind of guy who made everything look effortless, grinning through math class, catching passes on the football field like it was nothing. And he was always around because he'd been my brother Beau's best friend since middle school. At first, that's all he was. Beau's loud, messy, Doritos on the couch best friend who never bothered to knock before walking in. But something shifted last summer. It started with a strange quiet between us, the kind that says everything without a word. He stopped treating me like Beau's annoying little brother and started looking at me differently. Not as a joke. Not as invisible. But like someone he couldn't quite stop thinking about. I remember the exact moment it changed. It was July up at Lake Crescent. Just me, Beau, and James. My parents were in Chicago visiting family, so we had the cabin to ourselves for the weekend. That night, Beau passed out early, one headphone still in. James and I stayed up watching some old horror movie neither of us were really watching. The room was dark, lit only by the blue flicker of the TV, and somewhere between a bad jump scare and a second soda, he said it. "You're not like I remember you." I blinked at him. "What do you mean?" He smiled faintly. "You're older now, different, quieter, but in a good way. You don't try so hard anymore." I wanted to say something cool, but all I could do was stare, heart flipping because this was James. The James who joked about everything. The one who dated cheerleaders like it was routine. The one who was supposed to be straight, and definitely not the one I should have feelings for. But I did. That night, when our fingers brushed under the blanket, he didn't pull away. He held on, tight, like letting go might break something inside him. We didn't speak. The only sound was the hum of the TV and Beau's soft snoring from the next bed. Our hands stayed locked together, pretending it didn't mean anything while every nerve in me said it did. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. And for the first time, I wasn't scared. I was seen. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. No glance, no word, no touch. I told myself I imagined it, that maybe I'd wanted it so much I made it up. But 2 days later, when we got home, my phone buzzed. That night meant something. I stared at the message for hours. I didn't reply, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. This wasn't just anyone. This was James, my brother's best friend, the one guy who was never supposed to see me that way, and I didn't know if that text was a beginning or a mistake. The next few weeks were a blur. He'd text me late at night, short messages. "I keep thinking about you." I can't stop replaying that moment. I don't know what this means, neither did I, but I felt everything, and that scared the hell out of me. At school, he was still James, the football guy. Loud, flirty, untouchable. But in those quiet moments when Beau wasn't paying attention, James's eyes would find mine, full of things he couldn't say out loud, and I hated that I started living for those looks. That every time I walked into the kitchen and saw him there with Beau, my chest tightened, not because I was scared he'd ignore me, but because I was terrified he wouldn't. I tried to act normal, to pretend nothing had changed. But every time he sat too close, every time his fingers brushed mine when he reached for the remote, the world tilted. I knew we were crossing a line we couldn't uncross. And I couldn't tell if I wanted to stop it, or if I even could. There's a kind of tension that sits in your chest and refuses to leave, like a knot you can't untie. That's what being around James felt like. The more I tried to bury it, the heavier it got. Pretending we were just two ordinary people in the same room didn't erase the truth. Because once you've held someone's hand in the dark, you can't pretend you don't remember how it felt. 2 weeks after the cabin, James's texts started to fade. Not all at once, just slower. One day turned into 3, then 5, then silence. I told myself it was better this way. Maybe he realized it was just a late-night mistake. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he was scared Beau would find out. Or maybe it never meant as much to him as it did to me. I tried to delete the messages. I couldn't. Then one afternoon, I walked into the kitchen and saw him sitting on the counter, laughing at something on Beau's phone, like nothing had ever happened. He looked up mid-laugh, and for a split second, his smile faltered. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Then it was gone. "Hey, man," he said. Just that, like I was nobody. I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned to go upstairs, pretending I didn't care. But then his voice followed me, quieter, unsteady. "Aaron." "Can we talk?" I froze. My heart didn't. Beau had already disappeared into the garage. James stood there, glancing toward the door, then back at me. "Just real quick," he said. I followed him outside. The air was still, the sunlight too bright. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt that way. He didn't speak right away, just shoved his hands into his hoodie and stared at the grass. "I've been thinking a lot," he started. "About what?" I asked. "About us. About what we're doing, or what we did." He blew out a breath. "It's all so messed up, man." "Yeah," I said softly. "Because of Beau, because of everything." "You, me, him?" "People talk. People assume." He nodded, voice barely above a whisper. "My dad would lose it if he ever knew I was even—" He stopped. "He didn't have to finish, I knew. If he knew I was even into guys. If he knew I was even into you." He finally looked up. "But the thing is, I think about that night every damn day. Like it's stuck in my head. I've never felt anything like that before. And it scares the hell out of me. There it was, raw, unfiltered, real." I swallowed hard. "I don't want to be your secret, Cam," he flinched. "I'm not trying to make you one." "Yeah," I said quietly. "But that's exactly what this is. We talk when no one's around. We touch when no one's looking. And the second my brother walks into the room, it's like I disappear." He stepped closer. "That's not true. It feels true." Silence. His jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to punch something. Or cry. Maybe both. "I just don't know how to do this, Aaron," he said. "I don't know how to be this version of me in front of people. I've spent years pretending to be someone else. And you—" His voice cracked. "You make it impossible to keep pretending. That line hit me like a brick to the chest. You make it impossible to keep pretending. We didn't touch that day. We didn't hug. He didn't kiss me that night. But I saw the battle in his eyes. One part of him wanted to run. The other was already halfway in love with me. A few days later, it was Beau's birthday. Big party, people everywhere, music too loud, the living room packed. I stayed on the edge, drink in hand, half watching James joke with the other football guys. He hadn't looked at me all night. Not once. And then it happened. Some girl, Reagan I think, wrapped her arms around him and kissed him right in the middle of the room. It felt like a punch to the gut. He didn't push her away. Didn't kiss her back either. He just let it happen. I stood there like an idiot, holding my plastic cup, trying not to fall apart. I left early. Didn't even say goodbye. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. "James." "Come outside." I looked out the window. He was in his car across the street, headlights off. I didn't want to go, but of course I did. Sliding into the passenger seat, the car smelled faintly of spearmint and sweat. He looked wrecked. "I didn't kiss her back," he said quietly. I didn't say anything. "She just did it out of nowhere. Didn't mean anything." My voice was tight. "Yeah, well, neither did we, right?" His face twisted. "Aaron, don't do that." "Why not?" "Because I'm scared, okay?" He hit the steering wheel, frustrated. "I'm scared of what this means. Scared of losing Beau. Scared of losing everything." I stayed quiet for a second, then looked him straight in the eyes. "You were scared of losing everything. But I've been scared of never having anything real at all." He didn't say anything, just stared straight ahead. But when I opened the door to leave, he reached for my hand and didn't let go. There's only so long you can live in hiding before the walls start closing in. For James and me, those walls were getting smaller every day. After the party, something shifted. He didn't kiss me. Didn't make a move. But he stopped pretending. He started actually talking to me, asking about my day, really meaning it, lingering in the kitchen when Beau wasn't around, touching my shoulder casually when he passed by. Still careful, but no longer invisible. For a while, I let myself believe maybe, just maybe, this could be real. Then one Saturday afternoon, everything began to unravel. Beau was in the garage fixing his old Mustang. James and I were inside, watching a muted game, sitting too close on the couch. Our knees brushed a few times. Neither of us moved away. We laughed at some ridiculous commercial, a guy putting pineapple on a steak. Beau walked in for water, paused, eyes flicking from me to James to the couch. "What's so funny?" His voice was light, but something in his expression wasn't. James straightened quickly. "Just this stupid pizza ad," he said. "Guy puts pineapple on steak." Beau smirked, grabbed his bottle, and headed back to the garage. But before disappearing down the hallway, he glanced back at me. That flicker of suspicion? Quiet, cold, it hit me. Later that night, James texted, "Did he seem off to you?" I stared at the screen, heart racing. It wasn't just me. I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally. Yeah, he knows something. "James, what do we do?" I didn't answer. The truth, I had no idea. The next few days were weird. Beau was still Beau, joking, raiding the fridge, gaming until 3 a.m. But every time James entered a room, something in Beau shifted. He watched more, spoke less. One night I came downstairs for water and overheard them talking on the porch. Voices low, serious. I froze behind the door. "Beau, you've been distant lately." "You good?" James asked. "Yeah, just stress. School, football. You know," Beau replied. "Right," James said, pausing. "But what else would it be?" Another pause. Longer. I don't know." "You tell me," Beau said. Something inside me dropped. I slipped back upstairs before they noticed. I couldn't sleep that night. My chest was tight. My mind wouldn't shut up. What if Beau knew? What if he confronted me? Or told our parents? At 2:07 a.m., James texted, "Can't sleep." I replied instantly, "Same. You okay?" "No," a moment later. "Meet me." 15 minutes. "Your back fence." I threw on a hoodie and slipped out the back door. He was already there, leaning against the fence, shoulders low, eyes heavy, like he had 1,000 things to say but didn't know where to start. We didn't talk at first. Just stood there in the dark. "I can't keep doing this," he finally admitted. I held my breath. Not like this. Not hiding. Not jumping every time your brother glances our way. He turned to me. "I want to be able to look at you when other people are around. To talk to you without my voice shaking." I swallowed hard. "What are you saying?" He stepped closer, voice cracking. "I'm saying, I'm ready to stop pretending, but if we do this, I need you to be all in too." I nodded slowly. "I already am." He exhaled like I'd just given him life itself. Then finally he kissed me. Really kissed me. Not in the dark. Not under a blanket. Right there, under the stars, with crickets chirping, wind brushing the trees, and the world still turning around us. For a moment it felt like it was ours, but peace never lasts. Not when secrets are about to surface. 2 days later, Beau found my sketchbook. I usually kept it buried under clothes in my bottom drawer, but that morning I'd left it out after sketching James's face, half-finished, shaded, personal. Beau stumbled across it while looking for a charger. I walked in to see him holding it, staring at the page, expression unreadable. "Is this James?" My mouth went dry. I didn't answer. Didn't have to. He looked at me. Really looked. And I saw it all. Hurt, shock, confusion, betrayal. "Are you with him?" The silence between us said everything. Beau's voice wasn't angry. Not loud. Quiet, wounded, like the question had already answered itself. I couldn't lie. Not anymore, I didn't say yes. I just froze, throat dry, hand shaking, while he held the sketchbook like it burned. His eyes dropped to the drawing. He ran a thumb over the smudged lines as if touching them could erase the truth. "Since when?" His voice cracked. I finally spoke. "Since the lake." He blinked, then looked at me again, long and steady. And you didn't think I deserved to know? That hurt. Part of me had wanted to tell him so many times. But I knew this moment. This was exactly what it was. A mess of guilt, shame, disappointment. You're my brother, Bo, and he's your best friend? What was I supposed to do? Just say, hey, by the way, I'm falling for the guy you grew up with? His jaw clenched. You should have trusted me. It landed like a punch. He was right. But he didn't know. I didn't even trust myself most days. How could I expect him to carry something I wasn't strong enough to carry alone? He handed back the sketchbook and left without another word. I didn't see him for the rest of the night. Dinner, morning, nothing. But James showed up early before school. Unannounced. I was sitting on the porch step, sipping cold coffee, heart still racing from the night before. Hoodie on, hands in pockets, he walked up. He knows. I nodded. Yeah. What did he say? Nothing. That was the worst part. James sat beside me, close but not touching. Do you regret it? I looked at him. Pale, tired, eyes bloodshot. He hadn't slept either. No, I don't regret you. He exhaled like he'd been holding it for weeks. Aaron, then he reached for my hand. Right there in daylight, no hiding. No checking over his shoulder. Just his hand in mine. I didn't pull away. I didn't look around to see who might be watching. For once. I didn't care. That afternoon, Bo came home early. James was still helping me rearrange my shelves so I could finally hang my sketches. We froze. James stepped back instinctively. I hated that. Bo looked at both of us, face unreadable. Can I talk to you? He was looking at James. James nodded and followed him out to the porch. I watched from the window. It wasn't yelling. No fists, but it was intense. James kept looking down. Bo paced once, then stopped, hands on hips like he was trying to ground himself. Then James said something, just one sentence, and Bo's whole body shifted. I stepped outside. What did you say? I asked after James walked off. Bo was quiet for a moment. He told me. He loves you. My breath caught. He didn't plan it, Bo continued. Didn't even understand it at first, but it's real. He wasn't messing with you or lying to me. He's just been scared. We stood there, silence folding over us. Then Bo looked me straight in the eyes. You know what pisses me off the most? I braced myself. It's not that you're gay. Not even that it's him. It's that neither of you thought I'd handle it. My chest tightened. I didn't want to lose you. His expression softened. You didn't lose me, man, but damn. You made me feel like I didn't matter. That broke me a little. I stepped forward. I'm sorry. I really am, he nodded, swallowing hard. I just need time. Not to be okay with it, I already am, but to wrap my head around the fact that my best friend's in love with my brother. That's new, we both half laughed. Awkward, painful, but real. He better not break your heart, Bo added. He already has, I said. Then he better fix it. That night, James came back. We sat on the back steps again, knees touching, silence around us. I turned to him. You told him. You love me? He looked at me steady. Yeah. Did you mean it? He smiled, small, real, soft. I didn't mean to fall for you, Aaron, but I did. Hard. I rested my head on his shoulder. For the first time, nothing about it felt secret. After James told Bo the truth, something shifted in me. Not just relief, not just hope. Something deeper. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the floor to drop. We weren't hiding anymore, but that didn't mean it got easier. At school, people talk. And in a small town like ours, they don't forget. It started slow. A few whispers on the stairs. Is that the Blake kid with James Rhee? One football player shouted loud enough for others to hear. So, you switching teams now? James didn't laugh. Didn't joke it off. He just said, say it again. I dare you. Nobody said it again. But the silence afterward was deafening. By the end of the week, James stopped getting invited to hangouts. People who used to cheer his name barely nodded at him. His teammates got awkward in the locker room. He started skipping lunch, eating alone in his truck, and I hated it. I hated that he chose me, and it was costing him everything. One afternoon, we were sitting in that same truck in the school parking lot. The sun had dipped behind the trees. The world felt like it was holding its breath. He didn't even look at me when he said, "I don't know if I can keep doing this." "You mean us?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, this place. These people. The weight of it all. I thought coming out would feel like freedom, but it just feels like I opened a door and now I'm standing in a storm." I didn't know what to say. I saw him falling apart in slow motion and I couldn't stop it. "I'm tired, Aaron. That nearly broke me." James, who always pushed through everything, was saying it out loud. Later that night, Bo knocked on my door. He didn't say much, just walked in and sat on the edge of my bed. "You guys okay?" I shrugged. "Not really." He nodded slowly, then looked at me with something I hadn't seen since this whole thing started. Understanding. "You know, Cam's always been the one who kept me out of fights. Covered for me when I wrecked Mom's car. Stayed with me at the hospital when I broke my wrist. He's more than a best friend. And if you're the person he's willing to lose everything for, then I guess you're worth it." My throat closed. "He's worth it too," I whispered. Bo smiled, small and sad. "Then don't let him forget that." The next day was Friday, game night. James wasn't starting anymore, but he still suited up. Coach said something about team image, about distractions. James showed up anyway. Laced his cleats. Stood on the sideline. Didn't say a word. At halftime, the team was losing. Quarterback sprained his ankle. Crowd tense. Coach looked out of options. That's when James stepped forward. "Put me in." Coach hesitated. "You sure?" "I'm not quitting because people are uncomfortable." Coach nodded once. "All right, go." When he ran onto the field, the stadium was dead quiet. Not because he was bad, not because he wasn't ready, but because they didn't know what to do with him anymore. Their James had changed, but he didn't flinch. He played with fire in his blood. Second throw, a 40-yard pass. Next drive, he ran it in himself. The crowd slowly started to roar again, remembering the electric, alive James. When he scored the final touchdown, he didn't raise his arms, didn't pound his chest. He looked up at the bleachers and smiled right at me. It wasn't for them, it was for me. After the game, I waited by the back gate near the locker rooms. He walked out, helmet under one arm, sweat still dripping down his neck. Before I could say anything, he dropped his gear and wrapped his arms around me. No hesitation. No fear. I heard a few gasps, a couple of claps. Someone even shouted, "Let's go, Ree," but I didn't care. In that moment, he chose me. Not in secret. Not in darkness. In front of everyone. Later, we sat on the tailgate of Bose's truck, his head resting on my shoulder. "That was brave," I whispered. "So were you." "You didn't run," he said, lacing his fingers with mine. "I would've if you hadn't grabbed my hand first." "Then I'm never letting go," I promised. Some stories don't end with fireworks. They end with peace, soft mornings, and no more hiding. That's exactly what being with James became. Peace. Things didn't magically get perfect overnight. But that night changed everything. Because when he held me in front of everyone, he gave people permission to stop pretending, too. Some still whispered. Some still stared. But others didn't, and that was enough. My parents handled it better than I expected. Way better than James's. Mom cried a little, not out of anger, but worry. "Are you happy?" she asked. I nodded. "Then nothing else matters." Dad didn't say much, but later that night he came into my room, ruffled my hair, and said, "Cam's always been like a second son. Guess now he really is." That stuck with me. James's family wasn't the same. His dad stopped talking to him. His mom tried to stay neutral, loving but silent. That broke him a little. He stopped sleeping, stopped really smiling. Until one night I found him in my driveway at 1:25 a.m., hoodie soaked from the rain, just standing there. I pulled him inside, dried his hair, wrapped him in a blanket. He sat on the couch, head down, voice shaking. "Why is this so hard, Aaron? Why does it feel like I'm paying for something that should be good?" I sat beside him, quiet for a while. then whispered, "Because some people fear what they don't understand. But we're not here to make them comfortable. We're here to live." His eyes welled up. "I'm so tired of apologizing for who I am." I touched his face gently. "You don't owe anyone anything." That night he fell asleep in my arms. I realized I'd never loved anyone like that, not just for the good parts, but for the parts they hide. The broken corners, the weight they carry when no one's watching. Bo came around more than I expected. He'd bring over food, crash on the couch during movie nights, even sit beside James and ask about school like nothing had changed. One night, I asked him why. "Because I know who James is," he said. "I know he's not using you. I know he'd take a hit for you before he'd let you fall. And because I trust both of you. Also, it's hilarious watching the guy who used to flirt with anyone in a skirt practically melt every time you walk in." I laughed. So did Cam. Graduation came fast. We walked the stage, threw our caps, and James kissed me behind the gym afterward, still in his gown, grinning like a kid. "You know what I want?" he whispered. "What?" "A future that doesn't feel like hiding." Cam got into a college 2 hours away. I wasn't far behind. We didn't move in together right away. We gave ourselves space to grow, to breathe. But we stayed close. Shared weekends, coffee in old diners, lazy Sunday mornings in his dorm bed with tangled sheets and no alarms. We kept sketchbooks. Mine was full of him, half-drawn smiles, lazy eyes, freckled shoulders. His was full of words. James never wrote before, but now he did. Messy letters, late-night thoughts, little moments he didn't want to forget. One read, "He fell asleep on my chest tonight." I could feel his breath slow. I used to think love was loud and wild. But now I know sometimes it's quiet, safe, like the world finally stopped spinning. I cried reading that. One summer night, back at the lake where it all began, we lay on the dock staring at the stars. The water lapped gently beneath us. Same sky, but everything had changed. Cam turned to me. "Do you ever wish we could go back?" I thought about it. All the fear, the pain, the almost, then shook my head. "No, back then we were pretending. Now, we're real." He smiled softly. "I like real. Hand in hand, summer air around us, stars above, peace inside. I knew he was never just my brother's best friend. He was my first love, my safe place, my choice. I would choose him again, every time. I didn't plan to fall for him, but I'd do it again in every lifetime." If you made it this far, please subscribe for more real stories like this one. Your support means everything.